Hello everyone, this is Ivy Sketches. So here's a very short tutorial video on how to refill your copic markers. So I want to do a very short idea of telling you what it's like when your markers run out of ink. So I have this copic sketch right here that is 100 black, and this is like one of the first markers that ran out of ink when I was drawing it, and so I'll demonstrate to you what it looks like when it's dried out. So it looks okay and all, but when I first colored it I just realized how streaky it is, and you see that the color don't come out as smoothly. So that's one of the ideas to tell you that your ink is actually running out. And yeah, and some other things that tell you when your marker is dry is when the ink is not as smoothly as it should, and when you see your nib, and depends on how dry it is, it could be very white on the nib, like the particular area where you draw on, and the nib itself would look dry as well. But since this is not like the most dried out copic marker, I didn't seem to have reached to that stage yet. But it of course is not as smooth as these markers, which are very full. I actually did refill these and they are extremely smooth. You can see that. It's actually very juicy, and when you see the nib itself, it's actually very juicy as well. Oh, whoops. Sorry about that. And I'd like to tell you one of my histories when my ink dried out. So if you have watched the video of me drawing the Christmas girl, and I used the E95 to color her shirt, her sweater, and that's the first time when like my marker dried out, and I had no choice but to change to a new marker while I was drawing her, and that kind of frustrates me a bit. But I was lucky enough to cover it, and during that time I was about to throw this marker away, but I'm glad I didn't do that, because I realized that there are marker refills for these, and I was so glad that I bought these. I know these are a bit expensive, but it is so worth it. So here's this ink that it actually costs 5.55 USD, well, in my place, Hong Kong, and one marker it actually costs about 4.65 USD. For copic sketch, I guess. I'm not sure for other markers, since I couldn't buy them. They don't have it in my place. But I was so glad I buy it, because this one is actually slightly expensive than a copic sketch. But seeing that it can refill like so many times on one marker, it actually looks very cheap on the long term. And this doesn't just apply to like copic sketch, but to like originals, chows, and whites as well. And I would actually highly recommend anyone who are very interested in like drawing these and they run out of ink for so many times, they could just simply buy a refill, and they would not waste a whole new marker on it, and they don't waste their money either. So seeing how this goes is actually very worth the price, so that's why I would highly recommend buy a refill instead of buying a whole new marker. So some basic descriptions about these markers is that these refills are available for actually all the copic colors in 358, and these refills, they can refill any type of marker, as I said, and depends on which marker you use. It actually varies because, well, they hold a different amount of inks. And for a sketch, well, this refills about 12 times as I search on the internet, and a copic original is 9 times, a chow is a 15, wide is 7 times. But because I don't have those, I wasn't able to demonstrate that, nor do I think I can demonstrate that at all on video. But you just gotta have to trust me on that. So, some basic stuff of what it looks like, so you could see, well, if you've seen it for like 4 minutes, you would have known already that it actually looks very fancy. And this there's a cap on top that like represents the color you want to refill on. So like right here I have a E95 and that's the color I wanted to refill before. And this is actually an awesome screw off cap right here. Woo! And there's this very tiny squirt bottle which kind of makes it easier for you to fill up your marker depending on which method you use. All of them are very convenient because of the squirt bottle tip. And on the back of the bottle you can see there are measurements, and the whole bottle is like 25 cc's, and depends on like which marker you use. For example, using a copic sketch, you'll use about like 2 to 3 cc's of the marker ink, I guess, for each time you refill it. For others, I'm not very sure. You're just gonna have to check it on your own, or in the future I might show that if I could somehow find those. So that's it. So I'll teach you guys how to refill it right now. So what you have to do is just take off both sides of your cap. So why is it so hard to remove? I don't get it. So you take off both sides of the cap and then just lay it there and show the cap itself from your marker, and you take out the cap and try to match to see if it's correct. This is actually important because you don't want to get the color wrong. If you do get the color wrong and you just somehow refill it and not realizing it, then you're pretty much screwed, so you have to be careful about that. So since they're right, I will know that I got the right color, so I can start refilling. So you have to like place your marker at a 45 degree angle, and the brush faces on like the paper, and then the chisel faces to yourself. So you can start dripping your alcohol onto the chisel nib. Then just slowly drip your way through, and you see. And you know what goes in, like how it just absorbs the ink. Then you will know that the ink has already made its way inside the marker. And when will you see it's full is when you see that your your nib is actually extremely juicy right here. Whoa, 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 I almost dropped it. You see when it's extremely juicy. I'm not sure if I could show it, but it's obviously, you can compare it to your dried up marker right here. It's way juicier on this particular full marker. And because I actually did refill this before whoa, that's something I have to mention later. You have to wait, what was I supposed to say? I forgot. Oh crap. Oh yeah, I actually recorded this. I actually refilled this beforehand, so I wouldn't waste my time refilling the whole thing. Refill this a little bit, I mean. So I can stop at this point. And some extreme pro tips: if you don't want to make a mess like I did, you just have to place a piece of paper at the bottom, in case if you accidentally drip some of the ink out. That was quite a waste. And that's actually one of the methods you could use to refill. There are actually some other methods, and I can mention that. One of them is when you could buy one of those needles and you just attach it at the tip of your squirt bottle, I guess, and you just drip your way through the chisel nib. So you just insert that needle in between like the gaps of your marker. You can see clearly see that there's a gap in there. And another method is to like bring a tweezer and then just remove that chisel nib, because they're actually removable and you can replace them. So you just remove it and then just simply drip the ink in. And I think, like, I personally find that those both methods are cleaner, but since I don't have them at the time, so I can't really demonstrate that. So but I would still recommend the first one because it is like the easiest way. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention some of the common mistakes that people do when they refill it. I didn't mention like why you have to remove both sides. Well, one way is to like check to see if your marker is like overfilled, and that's one of them. If you somehow just leave one of the caps on, and when you start to refill, you will not be able to see if your marker is like overfilled, because you can't see the brush nib. And if it oozes out, then that means you've just wasted a crap ton of ink. Then that won't be good. So don't do that. Just open both sides of your caps, just to make sure that everything's gonna be okay. So that's basically everything I could talk about in this tutorial video. So hope you all find this helpful, and let me know if you want to see some other tutorials. So this is Ivy Sketches, and I'll see you guys then.